r/malicious compliance. First story. Do what you want or quit? Okay. This takes place back in 2014. I was the kitchen manager of a franchise of a novelty pizza chain that was brought to the West Coast from the Midwest. It was a fast casual type of place, and I was responsible for literally everything involving the back of house. Inventory, ordering, scheduling, training, cross-training, cooking, etc. The general manager, let's call him Dan, theoretically knew how to do the ordering and inventory and the vagaries of the menu items, but he was transferred from an entirely different restaurant. The franchisees owned a lot of different restaurants and wasn't really familiar with much of anything. I say this not to overstate my own importance, but rather to highlight how one person was essentially the only one in the restaurant that could run the kitchen effectively. I was always begging the regional manager to let me train someone else in most of my duties. Never approved. Sorry for the long context. I worked the same hours every week, with the same days off, and since I wasn't making much I decided to get a second job as a line cook at a small restaurant by the beach. I loved this job because it was so mind-numbing after stressful days at the pizza job. I had no real responsibilities aside from cooking whatever came up on my tickets and cleaning up at night. The way my schedule ended up, I was working about 70 hours a week between my two jobs and working every day. So Dan and I butted heads a lot at the pizza place because he had these ideas about how to improve efficiency, and I had a huge list of things to do and knew how to do them in the time I had available. I would pay lip service to him and then just go about my day getting things done. Well, one day, we are short-staffed. I'm finishing up my inventory, getting ready to hand the order list over to Dan to place, because that was one of the things he thankfully knew how to do well. He tells me I need to stay late because he's run ragged in the front, and I need to place the orders, which takes about 2 hours minimum. The following conversation ensues. Me, no can do, Dan, my other job starts in an hour. Dan, well then call them and tell them you'll be late. Me, I'll be fired if I do that, so not gonna happen. Just put the purchase orders in later, when it's slowed down. D, no, either you stay and do it, or you can go to your other job and never come back. Me, okay, bye. I proceeded to rip up the inventory I spent 3 hours taking, clocked out, and went to my other job. I got frantic calls throughout the night and for the next few days from Dan and the regional manager asking me to come back, but I was overworking a corporate job. I asked for and received additional hours at my second job, and later that year decided to go to college instead of finding a new second job. I graduated with a bachelor's 2 years ago. That pizza place and the other ones the franchisees opened eventually closed because of a number of issues, poor management being just one of them. TL, Doctor, General Manager gives me an ultimatum to either lose my second job or quit the current one. I quit. Ended up better for it. Edit for spelling. Wow, thanks for the awards y'all. Second story. Take breaks only within the breaks policy? Okay. This happened a few years ago when working for a well-known UK retailer. Not just any retailer, if you know what I mean. I was working on the store operations team at the time, meaning I was responsible for opening or closing the store, dealing with contractors, taking deliveries, supporting the shop floor staff by picking orders to fill the shelves, etc. When on the early shift, 3 or 4 of us would open the store at 5 AM. We'd do our safety checks and start taking the clothing and food deliveries. We'd also segregate the deliveries, put all produce together, all desserts together, etc. ready for the shop floor staff starting at 7 so they could fill the shelves easier. We'd then be sending stock up to the shop floor. 1 or 2 of us would be on the shop floor clearing empty trays, tidying up packaging, bringing up and sending down stock, etc. with another 1 or 2 downstairs sorting the stock that came back, putting it in the cold room, sorting the dates, etc. Busy mornings. We were told we couldn't go for a break whilst this was going on as it was all hands on deck, and we also couldn't all go for our breaks together afterwards as someone had to be available for anything that came up. Fine, but it would sometimes be maybe 10:30 or 11 by the time we got for our break, 5-6 hours after starting the shift. Add into this that we'd been working in a cold room, a walk-in fridge. It really would have been nice to have a sit down with a hot drink. Company policy was to give a break at least every 4 hours, which obviously we weren't getting. However, we didn't mind this too much. We understood that we needed to be more flexible. But some mornings, if a delivery was running late, or if we got the first one, clothing, done early, say by 5:45 and the next one, food, wasn't due till 6, we'd pop to the canteen for a quick coffee, or chill out on the loading bay chatting and waiting for the next delivery. One morning, we all got called up to the manager's office. Someone had complained that we were taking unauthorized breaks. I explained I was on a staff panel at the time, kind of like an internal union, about how we were being flexible when not getting a break for 5-6 hours when everyone else in the shop got one every 3/4 hours, but it fell on deaf ears. We were given a written warning and told that we must not take unauthorized breaks. And if we did have some downtime, we had to fill it by starting to stock shelves ourselves. So we decided to make sure none of us went over the 4-hour threshold for breaks. That meant us taking our breaks from around 8 AM, right in the middle of when we were needed most. Staff complained that they couldn't get their stock quick enough, or that the shop floor was a mess, that we shouldn't be taking breaks so early, but was starting at 5 AM and taking a break at 8 and different from them starting at 7 and getting their break at 10. Suffice to say, after a few days of this, we went back to normal and no one complained about us grabbing a quick coffee again. Edit. Spelling. Third story. Backquote, you should really consider if you want to work here. Okay, I will. Backstory. So I had a stint at McDonald's a few years back. First job, ended up being there for 3 years. I became the most respected crew member and was paid better than half the managers. About 2 days before I ended up quitting, my general manager had the entire crew doing customer satisfaction surveys to boost the store's ratings for the owners and corporate. I felt it was wrong and decided backquote, hey, I'll just leave a neutral review, not hurt the store, but don't lie about things. About 2 hours later, GM calls me. GM, hey Jay, can you tell me why the fuck you left this review? Jay, I felt it was wrong to lie just to boost reviews. GM complains a bit, then says, you should really consider if you really want to work here or not. I won't have an employee calling me out and disobeying me. At this point I was peeved. I've done nothing but good work. I've put up with all his bullshit for years. I've let his choices slide before. False advertising, telling us to serve old nasty food to reduce waste, etc. Cue malicious compliance. So 2 days later I put in my 2 weeks. And this is where it got fun. I had my manager buddy get a list of employees and their wages. Not my proudest moment, but I went around and told some people who were underpaid about people who were ridiculously overpaid, a couple of them being because of nepotism. Their mom was a manager, who also was severely overpaid. My last day came and went, and the fallout began. Additional backstory, the supervisor had told the GM to hire 20 new people by the end of the month. Only 5 ended up getting hired, and then I quit. Within 2 weeks he had 6 of his 8 managers walk out. 5 of his only reliable crew walk out. Satisfaction reviews plummeted. Drive-through times increased from 2.5 minutes to 5 minutes. Profits fell from 10k a day to 4k a day. And all it took was 3 weeks and this fool got himself demoted. Me leaving wasn't the sole reason people quit. It was just the start. But all he had to do was be honest, decent, and not be an ungrateful ass. Even his own cousin quit. Probably my favorite backquote, karma is a bitch moment to date. Fourth story. Sure, I won't clean the oven before making your food. Hope you like burnt pizza. I'm the assistant kitchen manager in a gourmet pizza place where we have a giant brick oven. My station every night is manning that behemoth 600-degree monster for hours on end. We have an open kitchen where, from the register, you can see the oven and whatever I'm doing behind the register girl. Now, a big part of running a giant brick oven is that every possible chance you get, you want to sweep out the burnt semolina, a coarse sweet grain stuff that's used to make the pizza slide off the peel into oven, from the bottom of the oven. If you don't sweep out the burnt semolina, you'll have a burning and smoking black dust covering the whole bottom of the brick oven. When you put the pizza in, the burning semolina attaches itself to the bottom of the raw dough, thus making the pizza look and taste burnt. Today, my understaffed line is super busy, and I'm trying to keep up with all the pizzas coming in and out of the oven, as well as expediting every order. A lady comes up the register, where she's about 8 feet from me, and can see my every move, and she asks me where her pizza is. I locate the order and it's on the counter for me to put into the oven. I tell her that I'm about to put the pie on the oven after I cleaned it, and she says to me, well, why can't you put it in before you clean it? I try to tell her that if the burning semolina is on the bottom of the oven then it will burn the bottom of the pizza, but she wasn't having any of it and insisted on getting her food right then. No cleaning the oven, just immediately cooking her pizza. So I wait to clean the oven and put her pizza in, all the while this lady is watching me like a hawk from across the counter. A few minutes later, I pull it out, and sure enough it looks burnt on the bottom. But fuck it, she made her bed. I pan up the pizza and hit her buzzer number, and she comes to get her food. Not even 5 minutes later, she comes back with such an attitude complaining that her pizza was burnt all to shit. I told her that this is more likely to happen where the oven hasn't been swept clean, and she kinda just muttered, oh. Ensue internal victory. Of course I offered to make her a new one after I cleaned the oven, but I hope that from now on, she will respect kitchen procedures and not to try argue with the people handling the quality of her food. TLDR, I work the oven in a commercial kitchen. I have to clean the oven out frequently, or worse food will start to get burnt. Some lady wants her food ASAP and demands I cook it before I clean the oven. Lol and behold, her food comes out burnt.